Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick follow-up video regarding the 511 TAC plate carrier and just a quick AAR or after action report or review with the training event I was just at, which is called Winter Forge, which was hosted by SNS Training Solutions out of Kansas City and Independence, Missouri. We were at the Movement Center Training Grounds, which is owned and operated by the One Shepherd Leadership Institute down in Missouri for a winter warfare training course. It lasted over the weekend. I ended up being there at the training facility for 4 days. And it was a very wet, cold. There's nothing on the ground, no precipitation. The day I got there early for the work party, which got me a discount on the entire event. Did the work that day. It started to get cold out, and then it rained a little bit overnight, and then it snowed, and there was probably maybe 2 inches of snow that somewhat stayed on the ground. It was very wet, soft snow. Which made the conditions pretty excuse me, made the conditions pretty gnarly. It was very wet, much more wet than compared to here, and I live right on the edge of the subarctic zone in the North Midwest in North America, so it's much it gets much colder, but it also can be much more dry cold a lot of the time, even with a lot of snow and ice and things like that on the ground, which there is quite a bit of. But the 511 TAC plate carrier, with the modifications that I had made on it per my prior video, held up fantastically. I was running some ballistic plates in it, which I ended up ditching just because I had a lot of weight that I was carrying, which is something with a lot of the military grade and aftermarket equipment that I've purchased and have been using and fielding and kind of setting up and everything will obviously be augmented for future training courses in those types of extended situations and for practical application going forward. Some good lessons learned in that regard on weight considerations, as well as various iotas of equipment, but the plate carrier itself held up extremely well with all my modifications. The tying, the knots, some additional taping and reinforcing of the cummerbund and things like that never fell apart on me. It was extremely comfortable to wear, and it held up with the weather very well too, because it did get wet and it did freeze overnight when I wasn't wearing it, and kind of resting in our Von Rex shelters and everything like that. But it did great. It was a really nice kind of insulator as well, because there's really good padding. Okay, and the inside padding here, which was really comfortable and really nice, it actually provided a little bit of insulation as well out in that environment. The temperatures were about, during the day they were sitting somewhere between 32 and 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And then at night it would drop down to somewhere between 20 and about 10 degrees Fahrenheit with a light breeze, so mild wind chill. So the plate carrier worked pretty well. All the pouches held up. We were carrying 5 mags, so 1 in the weapon, 1, 2, 3, 4. ATS pouch system, open top with a bungee retention, which I really like. You should always have some kind of over retention, especially moving around a lot, going prone, getting up, all that stuff, because we were doing firefights. We were also wearing the Miles 2000 Miles gear system, which is basically a military laser tag system. You're firing blanks in that timing system with the adapter on the end of your rifle, and then you're wearing a sensor harness which just lashed right to the molly on this, which was really nice. And then on my boonie hat that I was wearing, also in the Geo7 camouflage, this stuff is awesome. And that worked really well and held it all fine. Carrying a lot of extra stuff. Had my drink container here for metal water bottle. You can put, warm or cold water in it, whatever. Had, tools, pouches, all that stuff. It held everything I needed for the quick recce's, reconnaissance, and the patrols that we were doing. And it worked out really well. So very pleased with how this system performed. And I was the only guy wearing a plate carrier out there. Everybody else was wearing an older or different kind of harness or LBE, load bearing equipment system. And we're putting the Miles harness system on that, and this worked fine for it out there. Again, the only consideration with it was because of the plates that I was using. I was using level 3+ steel plates in here. I removed those because we just had a lot of extra weight with us, and it helped with mobility out there in the operational training grounds and environment that we were in. My only complaint, I've got multicam pouches on here for the most part, besides some Geo7 stuff. 511 has not made Geo7 camo pattern pouches yet, so I had to supplement with multicam. It looks okay, hodgepodge. I mean, it works well in the environment in North American woods and in Missouri and stuff. It worked just fine. It works up here too where I'm at. I just wish 511 would make the Geo7 pouches for that. So system worked well. Very pleased with it. So we rucked out to our location where we set up an OP from the operations fob, and that was probably a 3, maybe 400 meter excursion through different avenues and different terrain to get there. It was very winding, quite the path. I had some issues with my ruck, and this is part of the AAR. We had a lot of weight. Obviously, being a winter environment, you're carrying a lot of extra equipment, extra clothing, things like that, so things get heavy. Stuff adds up. Ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain, and you really have to be cognizant of what you're bringing. And I actually ended up packing a little bit too much stuff, just as far as like what winter clothing I would need and stuff. It wasn't as cold as I was expecting it to be, and I'm used to it being much colder, being from where I am at. So I had to take that into consideration as well, and I ended up stripping and ditching some things even before I went out, like my plates and stuff. It was just your body, you have to work twice as hard, and everything takes twice as long in a winter environment, in a winter warfare climate and situation. So then the pack worked well. Need to do a couple of different things in the future with lashing items to my pack, like my sleep system and things like that. That became a little unbalanced, and I had to get that readjusted, but it worked well otherwise. Not too many complaints from there. I'm probably get a slightly larger pack for next time though. The pack worked well though, and held up very well as well. Biggest catastrophic failure I had was actually with my boots. I had a big failure with my boots. So these are the boots I wore. They are Belleville Tactical Research Kyber, K-H-Y-B-E-R boot. I love them because they have a really aggressive tread. These are designed for mountainous and somewhat winter climates. Handles ice and rock really well. These are the black leather version with the side zip. So what I do is for additional waterproofing when wearing these boots out, and I've worn them in long deer camp hunting excursions, trudging around in snow. We get quite a bit more snow up here, and they've worked fine for the last several years up until now. But what happened, there was a failure up at the where the tongue, at the base of the tongue, where it is attached underneath behind the toe section. The waterproofing and treatment that I use, which is a combination of wax coating as well as waterproof spraying, ended up degrading too much, and I neglected to redo it before I went out. Same with kind of the zipper section. It does have a back lining to it there, the stripping, which helps keep a barrier and keeps moisture and stuff out. But I usually wax the zipper as well on these. That didn't work too well. More so, my foot got wet because of the leakage through there at the base of the tongue, and also here, kind of at that ball point where the foot. Yeah, let me put this down for a second. So that point where the foot pivots. So what happened is over here, I believe on this side, kind of where this threading is, or right behind there, down in there, either the threading or the glue failed on the inside and outside on both the boots, and I got some serious moisture inundation on the inside, which almost froze the inside sole, the padding and everything of the boot. My feet were extremely cold by the first night out in the field after a day of education training and courses and things like that, and then we were getting ready to bed down a little bit and then shift around for doing nighttime patrols and things like that. My boots went out of commission because they were completely soaked. I had to end up putting them in the command hot tent to try and dry out, and had to have one of the guys, Cole, who owns S&S Training Solutions, hook me up with a pair of Gore-Tex, military issue Gore-Tex boots to supplement in the meantime. And that put me out for a little while, and I was already exhausted from going into day early driving, almost 9 hours, about 8.5 hours to Missouri to do the work party, and then didn't sleep that entire day. And I had been up for almost 24 hours before I was even able to lay down, and then we laid down and then rucked out. So then I was really exhausted after getting about 4 hours, maybe 5 hours of sleep, and then doing another day rucking and training and setting up our shelters and the hot tent and everything. And then my feet got cold because of the boot failure. So I ended up laying down for a little bit and taking a little bit of a nap, just maintaining the fire, keeping water hot for people, things like that for a little bit of time before I got the other pair of boots, and then could go out and do, you know, share the load and do my part to do perimeter patrols and some other patrol work and observation and things like that. The day after that, everything was cool. I was out the entire day. We were doing recce's, reconnaissance. We were doing our patrols. Things were going well there. You know, taking turns with our perimeter sentry and patrols and things like that in the intermittent periods. Had a couple of small engagements here and there, and then it culminated with an afternoon and overnight raid operation into the next day, going and taking and holding a position for a communications facility and some vehicles and things like that, to which the opposition force, or Op 4, never showed up. So then we secured that, accomplished our goal there, did what we needed to do, and we're making our way back to our OP, and then there was a large ambush and firefight that ensued. And all the equipment that I was using functioned great. I was laying down a lot of suppressing fire, trying to get my buddies to get my team to maneuver, and it worked out well. We ended up conquering the threat in that situation, and we ended up being successful. So overall, though, the Winter Forge training event with S&S Training Solutions at the One Shepherd Leadership Institute's Movement Center was awesome. It was a great experience. I look forward to going to it again next year, as well as attending some of the One Shepherd FTXs, or field training exercises, coming up later this year, as well as going forward. Just a really good experience that is definitely on par with military training, to get some practical training and application in, and just kind of resharpen some of your battle skills, some of your skills as a warrior. So it was a really good time. So I really enjoyed it, and I want to thank Cole, Parker, Kyle, everyone with S&S Training Solutions. I want to thank the owner of the property where the Movement Center is stationed and hosted. I want to thank Tyler, Mike, Tyler and the Life Fighter Studies Group guys. They did a great job at the instruction blocks. I want to thank Mike. He was a really good dude. We worked well together. You're welcome for the lighter, by the way, to warm up your gear so that it would work. Yeah, no, it was, yeah, I want to thank all those guys. Obviously, my boy Will with Gutter Fighting Secrets, GFS, which I instruct for as well. We have a lot of demonstration stuff, and we have a large certification program coming in the works. So go subscribe to Gutter Fighting Secrets as well. And check out SNS Training Solutions and One Shepherd Leadership Institute. Highly recommend all of them. Great group of guys, and it was a really good time. I really enjoyed being out there. Misery loves company, but it's a lot better when you're in good company, as they say. So I was definitely in some good company there. Also want to thank Brent 0331 being out there. He was a great team leader, and yeah, no, it was a lot of fun working alongside him and everyone else as well. So thanks again for everyone, and yeah, just want to let you know this system and my modifications worked amazing out there. So if you want to run a plate carrier system out there at those kinds of events, pending what they approve and what they don't, go for it. It's you gotta test and run your gear, and that's a great proving ground for it. So good shit. So, but yeah, go check those out, and I'll be putting out a winter camouflage test video of that homemade winter camouflage that I made here in the next couple of days as well. And there's more music coming, so stay tuned. Out.